because the new film, 28 years later, the Bone Temple is apparently out in January, so
Wow.
we're going to see more. It's out pretty quickly, isn't it? So
Yeah.
It's already been filmed. It's already
But
done.
that's the
It's
one that's
already
got Cillian Murphy in, right? Because they said he's in the other
yes,
2 parts, so he's
yeah. So the next film, he's going to appear at some
yeah.
point. He's a
They
producer
reckon
on this
he's the
film as
Messiah.
well, but he is going to be in. He's going to be the main story plot of the third one.
If it gets made, yeah.
Rage Whale. Welcome to another spoiler review episode.
There is so much to talk about with this movie. This is the spoiler special review of 28 Years Later. We also go into a bit of detail on 28 Days Later, the original iconic movie, and 28 Weeks Later, which we have all enjoyed. We discuss everything from iconic opening scenes, game-changing plots, Cillian Murphy, Danny Boyle, Jack O'Connell, and what's expected next from this franchise. Enjoy. Thanks again for joining us. Today we have, as the intro would have told you, another spoiler review. And this one's actually from a recent film, because we do spoiler reviews on old films and new films. And we have all just seen the 3 films, 28 Days Later, 28 Weeks Later, and 28 Years Later, which only came out last week. And it's quite a controversial film, and there's lots of opinions going around the internet, but we're going to have a brief chat about it, then go through the 3 films. But Drew, what was your initial thoughts on 28 Years Later?
I
Just
thought it was
opinions without...
a mad concoction of ideas. Some landed, some ricocheted off, but there were some breathtaking moments that will stay with me, I think, forever, actually. Like some really tense, exciting moments. There were some choices that really annoyed me, like bullet time for arrows was a bit... It felt so dated that it's like there was no need to do that kind of stuff. I think,
don't you think it was? I mean, without going, we'll do detail in a minute, but more like the general essence of the film. Like, don't you think it was a difficult thing for Danny Boyle to come back to?
Yeah, I mean, it was a mad one to kind of recreate the world in a way. But I also thought, like, is it almost been 28 years later? Almost, it has almost since the first one, in a weird way.
It's been 23 years to be specific.
Yeah.
But this is. We'll discuss more in a bit, but this is the start of a trilogy. So by the time it finishes, it might be 28 years later. I don't know.
I thought this was part 1 of part 2.
It's part one of 3.
Part 3.
Yeah. There's 2 films being done, but there's a third going to be filmed.
I did actually cry in Act 2. It hit me. But I think some people found it funny, though, I've heard, which is a bit crazy, but yeah. You know, with the skeleton Christmas tree, with the skull Christmas tree thing.
I mean, it's a bit tricky.
I did have one issue with that. How easily he knocked a skull out, yet they're all perfectly stood there, and it's how windy it is.
Yeah.
Also, like them deer running past every couple of days, whatever, and like it's just the flimsiest structure. It's like a freaking Ferrero Rocher structure. Like he just touched one, it fell out. And it's like, all right.
And he's climbing with sticks.
Jenga with people's skulls, and he's been making like trees out of bone for years, and he's got a lot of time on his hands, obviously, because it's
28 years on his hands.
A pandemic, 28 years of building bones.
And like we saw, there was tons of bodies there. But yeah, we'll get into more detail there. What was your initial thoughts, James?
It was a mixture of brilliance and stupidity, in the sense that, like, for me, without going too into it, the relationship between Spike and his mum was brilliant. Some of the best acting I've seen in a long time. And it was almost like a separate film. Like, the film wasn't even a zombie movie to me. It was it was about them two. Because everyone thought probably Aaron Taylor Johnson was going to be like a main part, but he's only really a bit part, isn't he? Like, he's a bit of a dick. Like,
he's a main part, but he's not time wise. It progresses to Alfie
Yeah.
Williams and Jodie Comer, which
we'll
is
go into the things that I think were completely stupid in the film, like risking their lives for a frisbee. And then I think the sort of 20-minute
that wasn't the
scene.
reason.
They
The sort of
didn't go out hunting for a frisbee, dude. It was to get the boy's first kill. It was like
okay, for
an
what
initiation.
reason? But absolutely no
It's
reason.
an initiation. It's what the
Great.
town do.
It's commenting on people when they have kids and they're in a hunting, like in America, when you take your son out to get their first kill.
Yeah, but a
obviously,
deer isn't going to go murder you, is it? Like, it just seemed like a
but
lot. The
he's
risk and
shooting an
reward
arrow
didn't
into a
really
fat-
didn't really work out, did it?
Well, he's trying to shoot an arrow into a fat, lazy zombie. So it's
Yeah,
not going
but
to
the
go.
risk of a load of other zombies killing you seems a bit like some
It's quite
irresponsible
extreme, yeah.
parenting.
But that's the world now, isn't it? It's not that's not the kid's fault or the dad's fault. That is the world.
But no, what I would say is, yeah, that segment in probably I'd say the middle of the film then, or middle towards the end of the film, where he leaves the island to her dying.
Get her the doctor. Yeah.
That was sort of 20 minutes. Where I was just sort of sat with my mouth, like, just like, wow, this is cinema. It was amazing, but it also fell into the fact there was a lot of the most stupid parts of lazy filmmaking was in there. Maybe you call it, or just straight stupidity. Like, on the basis that when him and his dad went to the mainland, he came back, was super scared, saw his dad kiss another woman or whatever, and then all of a sudden was like,
He did
I'm
more
hard.
than kisser, mate. He did more than
Yeah,
kisser.
but then all of a sudden I've seen now I'm double hard Bruce Lee, as Bricktop would say in
Well-
Snatch, and he's like, right, we're going out there, we're getting all, and they go for how many days? They don't even see a zombie. Within 5 minutes they see one in, like, when his dad and that go
Yeah,
out.
yeah, I agree. But I think if your mum's dying, that kind of gives you the motivation to
Well, he doesn't
be the
know that, does
man
he?
type thing. Like
He
if your
doesn't know
dad
that.
if your dad leaves home, like
She's
leaves
in
you.
the same situation the night before and the day off. Like, same situation. He doesn't know, but he just go. All of a sudden, he's like, "I don't care about zombies," and then
But
he's
he's got
just
the
like,
motivation. He's got the motivation. He's got the skill. He just was a bit scared the first
but
time. Now
somehow
he's
they manage. He hasn't got the skill though. He said himself he
no,
had
he
made
has.
one shot and he missed
Yeah,
every
but
other
that's
one.
because
He
he
made
was
a proper
scared.
Much better though.
He
Yeah.
can do.
But why overnight
Pause
of
a
seeing
second.
that did he instantly become like, "Oh, I'm
No,
super
pause a
focused
second.
now"?
Pause. He's a very good shot. They show him that he's a very good shot at the beginning, but him being so scared of the zombies in real life, which he's never come across yet.
The fast
that-
ones.
And his dad is not very helpful. You think his dad's great, but you realize later on his dad's a liar, blowing smoke up his arse, and actually doesn't give him confidence or support him. Just wants him to shoot, so he loses it. But when he's looking after his mum, he's got a bit more about him. So I
What
think
would have
it's
made more
believable.
sense to me is after that scene where his dad obviously goes to some other woman, if there was some sort of like very short, almost montage time of him practicing, maybe go to the mainland with his dad, come back again, go to like literally a 5 minute like clip of him having multiple trips and building up that confidence,
I
rather
don't
than
think so.
instantly
Nah.
having it out
No,
of
'cause
nowhere.
that feels like a Rocky montage. He's not building
No,
up
not
for
a
a
montage
fight.
like that.
He's
But
just
like, Matt, right? Put it this way, Juice. Imagine you went out into war, right, for the day, and you were
Yeah.
like, "This is terrifying. I'm not doing that again." You came back, you saw your mum kiss another man. You were like, "I'm going to war now. I don't care." It's like it wouldn't.
No,
That's not.
but
That
I
wouldn't
think you're
happen.
missing the point. I think that Alfie has
he-
proved that he's good.
He is good.
It's
Alfie?
highlighting that his dad's pressuring him because when he's out with his dad's
Who's
like,
Alfie?
shoot him, hurry up, don't mess around, get it done, and it's intimidating him. But when
Who's
he's on
Alfie?
his own, he's got better ability because he's not
Alfie's
getting
the
pressure.
actor.
Oh, the actor, right? Spike.
Alfie
Yeah, I
Alfie's
think
the
it was a
little
bit
boy.
like ridiculous. He
called
went from
Spike
being
in
like
the-
all like, "Oh no, I'm really really scared," to instantly like, "Right, come on, let's go." And then they didn't
Well, no,
see any zombies when they went over there.
Yeah, but that's because they killed lots of them. But I actually think it was more like what Kev was saying, that he uses the impetus of his mum. He's so curious to figure out this doctor, and maybe there's hope that whatever's going on with his mum, I know he doesn't know his mum's dying, but it's like, if I can get her to a doctor, I'm going to use what I've gained with my dad and try and build up some confidence to get
I think
mum
it
to
was a
that
bit far,
fire.
a bit too far. I know the premise
But
of the
also
film
it's
was far
defiance, though.
fetched, but I think it was a bit.
But I feel like it's defiance as well, because his dad is denying him something because he's saying about the fire, and he's like, "We're not going to go there, son." Like, it's kind of like the whole kind of elephant graveyard thing.
Well,
And then he's like, "Well, I'm going to go."
between their journey of leaving that island to get into the thing, or when some of the stupidest things happened, everyone's favorite character is the Swedish guy, right? That like 10 minutes of just comedy gold, where like he's talking about they go to Happy Eater, that's hilarious. Then
Yeah.
then he talks about his mate being a delivery driver, and he's like, right, and he's like, what's that? He's like, when order online, they're like,
You don't know what online
what?
is.
And then he whips out, but then it was like that Swedish guy must have literally landed that day.
No, he was part of the. You know when all of them
No, he's
arrived
only
in
been
that.
there a day.
Well, he was part of that thing. You know when the team got attacked by all the
Yeah.
naked people?
Yeah, there was a
Yeah.
ship in the background.
Yeah.
Yes, he was
they'd
there
been
for a
dropped
day.
off. Yeah, all his team had died. He was the last one.
Yeah, so he'd been there for like 1 day because his
But
phone was still alive. So
but
that was the last one of the day.
the most comic moment, which literally the whole cinema laughed at, was when he showed a picture of his girlfriend, and he just goes, "What's wrong with her face?"
Of she and just like no,
Well, he
for
said like
laughs. The
there was
cinema
a
laughed
twist
at
that you
another point.
react to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
I
were
thought
the other
that was brilliant.
the
That was
cinema
brilliant.
laughed at another point when because his mum kept calling him dad,
Yeah,
and he did it. He go, this just got a whole lot more fucked up or something. And he's
Yeah,
like,
he
I know
just said
there's like
how.
inbreeding and stuff over here, but I thought that's a bit ridiculous.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that was good. But the bit I didn't like about that Swedish guy is when they're on the train. Just a
Train.
reminder, everyone that's listening, spoilerific.
Spoilers,
So,
guys.
I'm gonna
We're all the
ruin
way
it now.
through this.
but when he steps back on the train, it's like, oh well, someone's going to grab him, and of
It's so
course someone
generic,
does.
isn't it? Yeah.
It was like, oh, it's so boring
Generic
that this
horror
is going to
scene
happen.
number 2. It's like
And I think if we talk rather than about specific scenes for a second, like I think my overarching opinion was that I don't want anything to take away from the fact that I thought it was really good and I really enjoyed it, but it was not scary. It wasn't a horror. The big alphas ripping out spines wasn't scary. It wasn't. It was
no.
comic booky, and I think it failed on a lot of things. And unfortunately, Danny Boyle was the hero of this, and I love Danny Boyle, but I think he failed, or his DOP failed, because the reason that 28 Weeks Later is the best of the three on horror aspect alone is that shaky cameras, close up, fast moving, everything zooms past. You're not holding on things long. 28 years later, they're in the distance. They're approaching slowly. Their running wasn't even scary. Like the first two films, the running is like creepy and weird.
I'll
But
probably
I
say
wanted.
something.
This
Is it
wasn't
because they're
scary.
naked though? Is that what's making them less scary? Because they're like, it's
No.
like they're running to find clothes because there's just dicks swinging and tits in the air. Like,
Sorry to interrupt the show. Just a reminder to say we love and appreciate you all for listening to the podcast, whether it's on Spotify, Apple, or Amazon. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, follow, as this really helps us continue to progress and improve the content and keeps us making these fun episodes for you guys. Oh, we're also on these things called Instagram and TikTok. You can follow us there too, as we share short, funny reels on the reg that you can share with friends if you like. Now, back to the mayhem.
We at Ragewell support cinema.
There's no better place to watch new and classic movies on the biggest screen possible.
Also, get an unlimited card for free films and tons of discount.
We love movies, and if you do too, why not join us at Ragewell?
Give us a follow on socials for some fun content.
It's now time for the movie.
Is just before just so you guys think I didn't enjoy it. It's one of the best films I've seen in a long time. Like
I
I,
did
would
enjoy
give
it.
it as close to a 9 out of 10 as possible.
ooh.
But like I really
I'm a
enjoyed
6,
it. But
maybe
like because
7.
the silly moments, it's more fun to talk about the silly moments. The bit that I liked actually, do you know how they kept involving like the Saxons or the whatever they were? I don't know. They kept
Yeah,
coming back
that
to like
editing was
Hitler and
quite good.
stuff. And
Yeah.
then, do you know what reminded me? It reminded me of when they were doing that editing. It reminded me of Rob Zombie movies. You know, when they kept cutting to whenever they showed a group of zombies, they were always with the red filter on, weren't they?
Yeah, the nighttime.
Eating like the thing, eating the deer, putting the head up. Didn't that remind you of like the Rob Zombie movies? How they used to edit and cut
I
like
know what you
random
mean. Yeah,
scenes,
but I think the
like House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Reject, that sort of thing.
but don't you think Danny Boyle was trying too many things? Like number one had a style, number two had a style. This had four styles.
It
Can
had
I?
a lot of
And that,
styles and a lot going on.
It
yeah,
reminded me of the film Place Beyond the Pines. You know, where it's got the 3 different chapters.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
You've
yeah.
got
Because, like I said, that section with him and
yeah,
his mum, that
yeah,
between them two, that's borderline Oscar-worthy acting from Jodie Comer, I think,
yeah.
because that
She's incredible.
story took you out of the whole point. Because there was no interaction with zombies, really. There was like a little bit, wasn't there? But it was like, and then they met the Swedish. Then they had that crazy thing in the Happy Eater, which was quite. I kind of thought it was funny because it's Happy Eater. Like
and it was a
kids
bit
probably,
Oh
kids
yeah,
steampunk
because
as well,
nowadays
the
wasn't
won't
idea
really
that
get that.
zombies
Oh,
are eating.
did
Yeah.
you want a little fact, a little factoid? You probably already heard it yourself. This is the first film to use the word zombie. The Swedish
Oh,
guy says
First film
says
ever, or
zombie.
first in this series.
they normally say
First in the
infected,
series.
don't they?
Yeah, it's
The Infected,
infected.
yeah.
Zombies are not a real thing, and this is
Did
a world where, yeah.
did I miss something as well? How did mainland Europe get rid of all get rid of all the infected?
It's not important, is the answer.
But they say at the front, at the
Yeah,
beginning of the film, that they got rid
it's
of them all.
But
because
it
the
happened in
ending of
28. Dude, it happened in 28 weeks later. The infection was gone. That's what
No,
makes
28
28
weeks.
weeks.
They put
20
it
weeks.
back in the
No, but that's what
France,
makes it.
didn't
Yeah, no, I know, but that's what makes it frightening, because in 28 weeks later, it's about how a plague can spread when there's no sign of it
they?
anywhere,
It didn't
and
really bother me, to be fair. It
it's
didn't
through
bother
the
me. It was just one of them
saliva.
things. I was like, I wonder how
But,
they managed to eradicate
but
it
Drew,
from.
the point he's making is that the very final shot of 28 weeks later is them running in the Eiffel
Yeah, no,
Tower.
in Paris. No,
And
I
then
get
it
it.
starts off not discussing it, just says
But
it didn't
but
happen.
this is something that people
Yeah.
said in an interview, that Danny Boyle is not including 28 weeks later.
Well, he's
He's
a
going,
producer. He was part of it's still
But
Alex
he didn't
Garland.
write it, did he? He just
But
produced it.
yeah,
Alex
but
Garland wrote all of them.
yeah, I'm saying it's just a little bit of a, let's not worry about that
It
right
didn't
now.
bother me. It was just one of the things I was like, I want, because I rewatched it. I was like, what are
You
they all
just
in
wanted to
France? And
see
that's a
French
bigger
zombies.
landmass than the UK.
But
The
it's
UK is
but it
tiny
is
compared to that
it's
landmass.
feasible if you think about it, if you take away if you take a step back a second, you go, well, in 28 days UK was fucked. So in 28 weeks they only just crept onto Paris. 28 years have gone past. In 28 years I'm pretty sure they've managed to push them back into
Yeah.
the water and then over. That's feasible.
It
That's
was only a
very
little thing
realistic.
anyway. It didn't detract from me. But what you said about it being almost like 3 or 4 separate movies, you had the beginnings. The first movie was young boy coming of age, going to
Yeah.
go hunting, regardless what he's hunting, going to go hunting. Second phase, boy and his mother going to find out what's wrong with her, go on this
Boy
big
becoming
journey.
more of a man, though. Boy
He
becoming more of
became
a
a man
man.
instantly up, yeah. Then he's
Because
more
also
of
it's
a man.
ironic that he's called Dad, which I thought was really interesting. So don't forget, in the first one, he puts the Power Ranger toy back on the table because, like,
Yeah.
I need to be a man about this. Doesn't quite succeed because it's a bit too scary and a bit too bold out there for him. Then he returns again with his mum, and he's a much, more confident.
I
And
think
it's just
the
strange
next
to
act,
call him
when
Dad.
it leads me to the end of that kind of act, should we say, which kind of annoyed me, which is another thing I thought was a bit stupid. That guy was just like, bearing in mind she was still not deteriorating in any way, and the guy was like, right, let's kill her. It's like, whoa, chill out, like just relax. And then he just gives him the skull. There you go, donk. There you go.
Yeah, that's
That's
got
a
to be
bit
like
awkward, though. It's like, I've just killed your mum, cleaned the skull.
It would
Where
have
do you
been
want to put this
different
on the
if she
Christmas
was
tree?
like. Do you not think it would have been different if she was like really, really shot? Like, no,
I
it brings
mean,
back to a
she was
funny
bad.
scene.
I think she was trying to formulate that she was bad by the fact she's calling him dad and she knows she's
Yeah,
ill.
she
But
was in a
But she
really
could have
bad way.
been doing that from the beginning of the film.
not to that
No.
extremity. It was building up. It was getting
But
worse and
that
worse.
does bring me back to one of the funniest bits in the film is when that Swedish guy is carrying her the whole time, and then they chill out for a bit, and then she gets up, and he's like, "Wait, she can walk."
That
Yeah.
got a big laugh.
That
That
was
got
a
a big
funny
laugh.
bit. Yeah.
That 20-minute section with that, he's probably never 20 minutes. The Swedish guy, it was just laughter.
Yeah, it
Like it
was.
was
Well,
so
he was
funny,
the
but it was like
comic.
good laughter.
He was the comic relief, though, really, wasn't he? In a way.
Yeah, and I think
If
when
you
that guy
gave, if you
killed her
gave
instantly, it was like it's a bit much, isn't it?
if you gave a child the skull of their mother, they wouldn't go, "Oh, I'll go and put it on a thing."
I'll
You'd be
climb up the most
traumatized.
flimsy construction ever. And also, which brings back to another thing that was dumb in that section, is when he almost like tasered the alpha. Why not kill it? Just be like, I'll be all right.
Well,
We'll see him
no.
again. Ironically, that alpha comes back and messes people up. But it's like, why don't you just kill it? Like, it was
But this was
stupid.
mentioned in a thing that the whole point is you've got Aaron Taylor Johnson's character is teaching the boy to kill. Then you've got the Ralph Fiennes character is talking about it's about healing, it's about forgiving, it's about remembering the people.
Yeah, look how that went.
Yeah, I get it, but that's the whole point. Because I was thinking, why when they put the morphine in the alpha guy, why don't they just chop his head off? Because he's going to come back. He's going to be a problem. But the fact that Rafe finds his character names them, so they're not called alphas. He calls him Solomon. So it's the idea that
Samson.
he's making
Samson,
friends
yeah.
with them.
Also,
Or
two
Samson,
things
sorry.
though. One, any medical expert says I've had morphine before. To have it's not like a freaking like thingy dart from like the Yanomami in the freaking
Yeah,
Yeah, but
in
James,
the
James, you're
Amazon. It's
talking
not
about
instant.
You're just talking about morphine, like a little bit of gas when you're not well. I've had morphine
No, an
too,
injection.
but he's a doctor. I don't think it's just morphine. I think it's a deliberate drug or
Morphine's
something.
not gas, Kev. Just to be clear.
But wait. No, morphine you can have gas. Yeah,
Yes, I had ejection.
yeah. Well, I had gas. You can get it any different
It's
way.
can
It's
have it.
great,
medical.
but
But
why
wait.
not kill it?
The point is that like what Drew was saying is that he's not a killer. That we think that he's a bad guy or a scary guy because of the bones. When you get to know him, you realize that it's not that he's not killing them. He's studying them. He knows them better, so he's the safest guy to be around.
Yeah.
Because
Wow.
he knows how to stay away from them because he's built that little shaky bridge that they can't really cross, and they've got no reason to cross because he's an iodine. He's not appealing
I've
to
got a
these
great question for you.
guys.
Great question.
He's honouring the dead.
If he's not a killer,
Yeah.
one, he killed
Well, he
Maple's
is.
mum. Two, who killed all them lines of bodies?
Zombies could have done.
Well, no,
They
they
would
turn
turn
into
into zombies.
Oh yeah, good point.
Was he just out killing humans? Is that a plot twist? Was he out just murdering humans? Because all of them
Yeah, but he
didn't
might have
look.
just found them all.
That's a flashback. That's not real. You know,
I thought it was a
that's what.
flashback from his dad.
No,
What his dad
listen,
said.
No,
that's what
it is
Aaron
Aaron
Taylor
Taylor's-
Johnson told as a story. We don't go there because he's weird because we saw
Where
him
did
with
he get
all
all the
the
skulls
bodies.
from then?
Yeah, but it's his imagination though. He's saying to his son, "There's
No, but the
no."
skulls are real.
Yeah, but they could be infected.
So he does
That's
kill them.
probably, yeah. Or they die.
Hundreds and thousands of them.
Or they die. If they're not
Do
getting
they
it, if they're
die?
not eating, they
He's
die.
been doing it for 28 years though, man. He's pretty good at it. He
But
even
like there
built a
was
little Christmas tree.
thousands of
out
skulls
skull.
there.
Yeah. I don't think that's a main. I mean, there's loads of issues with the film. I don't really care
Yeah, but
about
I'm just
that point.
wondering why didn't he make them clothes as well? Because they're naked, just running around with massive.
He's not CNA. You think he is? Like,
Yeah, but he's got clothes. Why didn't he
CNA?
make some clothes for what's his name?
James
Summer.
is stuck
like
in the 90s.
what,
Samson.
open a sweatshop in like a catastrophe? No, but all them bodies lined up if that was real. But then you think, where do all them skulls come from? They're either infected. If he's killed that many infected, thousands of them, like he's a badass who just likes alphas and just randomly didn't kill him, or he's been killing humans.
Like you said, it's been 28 years of dead bodies and dead infected.
Yeah,
They
I
all
didn't think of
die.
that until just now, actually.
Yeah. But I mean, like, for a few minutes, let's go back a little bit then before because there's loads to talk about in this film, and I think the reason this film's good, whether you like it or you don't, is that there's so many talking points and interesting bits.
Yeah.
Excellent movie.
To go back to 28 days later. Just remind everyone on the dates as well. I'm sure you remember, but it came out in 2002. It was being filmed during 9/11, and the scene between Cillian Murphy and Donald Gleason, where they have a drink and cheers.
Brendan Gleeson.
Brendan Gleeson, his dad, saves them. That was the same day that 9/11 happened, and they said that they felt really weird cheersing and celebrating their being alive.
Yeah, when they all have that little drink that you found. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was doing a Cockney accent as well, because I was like, oh, that's from In
doesn't
Bruges.
sound anything like, he's so good at accents because it's
Yeah.
so believable. But that film, that the reason that film is one of the most iconic zombie or infected films ever, because like we said before, and everyone knows, it was the invention basically of the fast zombies that changed the game. And
Yeah.
it's the same year that Shaun of the Dead came out. And I think we mentioned before in the previous episode that Simon Pegg was given the note because their production got delayed. They're like, sorry about this, Simon, you've just done this amazing comedy zombie film, but someone's just changed the game and they've just released fast zombies and you've got slow zombies, so you're a bit behind the times. Luckily they still released it and it was a cult hit, but
Yeah.
it could have changed, and it changed everything, didn't it, having fast zombies? And they were
Well, 28
much
Weeks
scarier.
arguably has one of the greatest openings to any movie ever.
Well, we're sticking on 20 days for a second, like let's talk about that for a minute.
One of the scariest moments is when the taxi gets a puncture and they're trying to change the wheel in 28 days later.
Oh, and they're
you
chasing
see,
on the tunnel.
but first you see the shadows of them. They're not even there yet. You just see the shadows small and they get bigger and you're like, they're getting closer and they're climbing over all the broken cars.
And I think that's a hark back to like black and white movies where I think there was a film where there was rats coming. I think it might be in the original Nosferatu or something, where all the rats coming, you see the shadows of massive rats before they come round the corner. It was kind of a take on that.
Yeah.
I think one of the scariest things in ever 28 Days Later, and when it first came out, it was terrifying because it was such a unique thing. That zombie infected in the back garden with the army guys with Christopher Eccleston, and he opens the door and he goes,
tied up.
Meet thingy, and he's like, what? And because there's loads of sheets hanging up drying, this zombie just comes through a sheet and just stops right at his face, can't reach him.
So Madam keeps saying horror, but would you describe 28 Years more of an action drama?
Yeah, but it's meant to be a horror, and for a lot of normal people it might still be a horror. But 28 Days Later changed the game, I think, and it was proper.
It was something new.
And I was like, what about the fun shopping trip? They managed to bring such a lot of fun elements to the idea of when the world is like there's no one else around, and then he even has the cheek to leave a credit card. So they've stolen all this food, put it in the back of the taxi and leave a credit card. And it's this kind of playful, trying to find the joy and kind of still trying to find ways to live in a bleak kind of dystopian world. Because even when he's like looking at the whiskeys, and you've got, Naomi Harris is looking at the sweets and chocolate bars. She's like, oh my God, I can't believe we've got such many options of chocolate. And then, you've got Brendan Gleeson looking at all the different whiskeys and he can't make up his mind. So he just takes all of them.
Telling Cillian Murphy that how lovely it tastes, and it's smoky aftertaste and it doesn't hurt and it's gentle. And then he puts one in, looks at it, and then throws another 6 in.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's a nice
realistic human aspect to the film, which makes you like the characters more, I think.
Have you heard the fan theory from the new one that links them all
stick
together?
On this film for a second, like we want to.
I think James is upset because he didn't do his homework, so he didn't watch this one. So that's why
we're not going to talk. Watching 28 Years, and we'll talk about that.
But can you understand how this is working, James? Like, give us like 2 more minutes.
You've got 2 minutes,
and then we're going on to weeks later for 5 minutes, and then we'll come back.
We're going about that, Jeremy.
But the twist I thought was really powerful as well with the kind of the soldiers. You think at the time when they're on their way there, you think they're going to be like the
saviors. Yeah.
But then it got so much darker because then when he says, I promised the soldiers some women, you're like,
yeah, it got real dark.
You're like, oh, this is going dark now. Because like, we didn't have women, we couldn't populate. And now it's like, hang on a minute, we are definitely not safe here.
It seems quite extreme for only 28 days later. You know what I mean? Like, give it a minute.
Yeah, I know, right? How horny are you guys?
Do you not think that's like a current thing through the thriller, that the zombies or the infected aren't necessarily the main protagonists all the time? Like in the first one, it's like
you mean
the army.
Yeah.
Well, no, but that's what I love about it. It's in dystopian worlds, it's how like humans are quick to become the villain as well. Like there was a really cool. It was in The Walking Dead. They said, "Dodge the dead, fear the living," and you're like, that's actually quite clever. Because it's actually like the people that are alive are just as dangerous as the ones that are half alive. So it's like,
yeah. No, I think it's good. And I think, but that's the bit that a lot of people do criticize 28 Days Later for, the unrealisticness of like Naomi Harris changing from being the badass warrior to all of a sudden scared of a few men.
Yeah, I did think that, especially with her blade, because she reminded me of almost like Michonne from The Walking Dead. Like she could have like decapitated like loads of them. I don't know why she became so. And that's the bit where it felt a bit weird, because it's like the way they've written it is like, right, we need her character to shrink a bit and be a bit intimidated when she wouldn't be because she's badass, and she chops off her own boyfriend's arm and then his head like that as soon as he
But
gets
maybe
bitten.
maybe she's gone softer because she's got to look after that girl as well. Maybe
That's
but
what I
gone-
thought maybe, and she didn't want to
gone
rock the
protective.
boat a bit. Like there's a bit of a maternal instinct, but it allows Cillian Murphy's character to go off, take off his top, run off in the rain, and just become a bit of a badass killer.
And
By the
that's
way, did you hear
that's
when
the
people brought up that that zombie looked like Killian Murphy to Danny Boyle, and he was like,
yeah.
"Oh, do you know what? It actually does. Actually, yeah, we should have probably like made the most of that, shouldn't we?"
Well, I think
Well,
everyone
The one
did.
that comes up in the
yeah.
cornfield, he was like, when someone said that to me, I was
And-
like, "It's actually a good point."
And I expected something from the new movie, but that zombie popped up for like 5 seconds and then
Yeah.
was dead. I was like, all
Yeah.
the marketing around that few seconds, that's rubbish. But anyway, like, don't you think it's weird as well? Like in 28 Days Later, they got Christopher Eccleston, and in the new one, they've got Ralph Fiennes, and they look like twins. To be fair,
They
Oh,
do.
in real
yeah.
life,
That's
they look
mad.
they look like the same actor.
Well, I
but
thought Christopher Eccleston was in Danny Boyle's the one with the money, where it with Ewan McGregor and everyone, where the money kills
yes,
people.
yeah, Shallow
It's
Grave,
called
Shallow Grave,
Shallow Grave. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
But the end of 28 Days Later as well, like that gave Cillian Murphy the reason to go rage. And that's the irony.
Yeah.
He's got the rage virus. He hasn't got the rage virus, but he has. He's been given it
Well,
technically.
that's why the little girl like smashes him over the head with the bottle, which is darkly comic. Because you know when he
she's
pins her against the
terrified of him.
wall, and I think they're about to kiss passionately because he's covered in blood, and she thinks it's a zombie, so she smashes him over the head. It's
Oh,
really
that
funny.
scene in that room where they're hiding, but where she's hiding behind the mirror, and the zombie's looking at him. The zombie army guys looking at him. Wow, that was
Yeah, there was some really intense moments. in there.
because I watched both of them very recently, and I haven't watched them for so long that a lot of the stuff, even though I'd seen a couple of times back in the day, I didn't remember what was about to happen. So
There's
everyone-
more jump
it still felt
scares.
new.
Yeah, there was more jump scares, definitely, like you're saying. 28 Days Later is more horror in comparison to 28 Years. Like 28 Years.
Oh, I
It's
don't
not
know.
horror. 28 years, not horror at all.
No, we're talking about 28 Days. I think it's like a slow burn
28
survival.
days
with
is, I think,
scary,
28
tense
years definitely.
moments.
Well, is a thriller horror.
28 weeks later is pure horror and
Weeks,
adrenaline
yeah.
action. But
Sweet.
before we move on to 28 weeks later, it's obviously the most iconic opening scene, and these films are famous for that. That these first two films, they've got two of the best opening scenes. Ignoring the monkey bit, the Cillian Murphy waking up and
Oh, yeah, but that's so
In
iconic with
empty
the
London.
half-shaven head and the long hair. And then when he shaves his hair at the other person's house, it's like,
yeah,
it's crazy. But
And-
he's so... You can't stop watching Cillian Murphy. Like, don't get me wrong, everyone in the film is brilliant. But Cillian Murphy's got so much kind of magnetism on screen. You can't stop watching him. Even when he's not saying any lines, it's like...
yeah. I would say 28 Days Later it's not perfect, but it's a 4.5 out of 5 for me. It's
Yeah.
close. But 28 Weeks Later,
That's
a
my
lot
favorite.
of people didn't like, and there's a couple people online that have been watching like what we have watching because of this, and
Yeah, reruns.
28 Weeks is getting a lot of hate, and I thought it was the best.
Yeah.
That's a 5 out of 5 for me. That is a
I agree.
perfect film.
Can we all remember Cillian Murphy's character's name, though?
Jim,
Jim.
Yeah.
which obviously
Which
relates back to the new one in a
Translates
bit.
to the next
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
yeah.
But 20 Weeks Later, let's chat about that for a sec. That obviously is even better opening sequence than 28 Days Later, in my opinion.
The
Yeah.
best opening sequence to maybe any film ever. Just
I
the
say
total
it might be
chaos
the
to start
best
with.
opening out of the trilogy, to be honest, because even better
Easy,
than 28
easy.
Years.
It might be the best opening to any film.
No,
Like,
number
think of-
one's iconic because it's the first time something that's been done and it's quite unique. And
Yeah,
as
he's like,
you
don't
said,
open the cages. It's the monkeys. They're full of
Not that
rage.
bit.
Like, what?
not the empty London bit.
Oh yeah, that's amazing.
That bit, because like you mentioned in the last conversation we had, like he just got a bunch of girls, including his own daughter, to stand at the end of the bridge to stop people coming
Oh yeah,
across.
yeah, yeah.
They did that shot for
Well, yeah, but
free
he
early in the
also had to
morning.
pay the council. I think he was allowed 10 minutes to block off the road, but they must have put they must have thrown litter everywhere and be like, we'll clear that up in a bit, don't worry, because it's like there's newspapers everywhere. Like it's
Yeah, but
Yeah.
20 weeks later with
Robert
Robert
Carlyle.
Carlyle, just amazing. And I love how it come. I forgot it. Like I said, I haven't seen it for ages. I forgot it comes to bite his arse back a little bit later. It's so funny.
But also, I didn't realize when I was watching it, you think it's romantic. It's really cleverly done because it looks like it's the two of them about to have a romantic meal. And
Yeah.
you're like, this is so clever. And they're like planning the meal together and talking about it and having wine, cracking it open. And then they gradually get at a table and you see all these different walks of life get around the table. And then one person says, she's not coming to join us because we all know that he's dead. You're like, what? And then it all of a sudden you realize they're all living together in this house and there's just chaos going on outside.
Yeah. And that's where they sow the seed that Robert Carlyle is a lovely guy and he will do anything for his wife. And then at the critical moment,
Apart from
he
save
is
her
a
life.
coward. He is
He just
absolute
he
coward.
freezes, I think. But to be fair, it was so intense when that happens that she tries to save the little boy, which that bit's intense when the boy's banging, help me, please.
Yeah.
You're like, what the fuck? And then she takes him into the bedroom to try and protect them from the zombies, but then loads of them come through the bedroom, so he has to go out through the window. It's like,
yeah, but he had time. He had time to save.
That's why
Maybe
you get double glazing, kids.
the boy would have died, but you'd say try and save your wife, and he's just running away, and it's just that look of her at the window getting dragged away.
I don't
that
think
is such a
these zombies are getting through double glazing. Notice how
powerful
all the
image.
houses they get to are really crappy.
And don't you think it's
They're like props in
worse?
Emmerdale.
Like that scene's made worse later on when he speaks to his kids and says what happens to his
Oh, and then he
mum,
lies.
rather than being truthful. That lie
Also, I
makes it
reckon he knocks
worse.
that guy out of the boat as well.
But I feel like that's a perfect example of showing about how males feel that we can't show weakness. I think again, we talk about how
Well, he
men are
showed
seen in the
weakness.
world.
Bravado.
Ran like a bitch.
Yeah, that it's trying to be like, oh, I saw this, and that we'd rather tell a lie than the truth.
And 20 weeks later as well, I forgot how many people were in it. Like James mentioned a minute ago, Jeremy Renner.
Yeah,
You've got Rose Byrne.
Yeah, I forgot Jeremy Renner was in it.
And
Idris
you've got
Elba.
Idris Elba, Imogen Poots.
Yeah,
I think she's fantastic.
she's great.
She's only 18. That was one of her first major roles.
she was brilliant in that.
Yeah.
And Cooper Cock.
Cooper Cock was not in this film, but yeah.
You got the guy from The Matrix. I can't remember his name. The helicopter pilot. He's in The Matrix too.
Perrineau.
He's brilliant.
Yeah, he's very good. They're
Weeks
all
was
brilliant.
good. It was Jeremy. I forgot Jeremy Renner was in it. To be fair, it was so long ago. He must have been one
mate,
of his
what about that bit
first
where he's
big ones,
pushing-
wasn't it?
When he's pushing the car when they're trying to get away from the gas, he gets set on fire. That bit was
Can't
like,
help but feel like
Yeah.
they stitched him up a bit.
Yeah, I'd like to have seen him come back. See, he was such a good part in that film, and he was a really critical role. And I've literally just watched Mission Impossible 4, 5, and 6, and he's in all of them as well. I was like, what? Didn't remember that.
oh yeah.
Yeah, he was. He was like a spy with him, and then he just left him out.
Yeah, he was there in the Burj Khalifa when he was jumping out the window and stuff.
And
Yeah.
the clubs
Was that Ghost Protocol?
failed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ghost Protocol.
And he was in the more recent ones as well. He's
Just a
part of the
quick one,
crew.
Jeremy Renner. Do you hear why they haven't made a second series of Hawkeye?
Well, he's
Because he's injured.
No,
and
no.
they wouldn't
He's
pay him.
recovering.
They wanted to pay him half. or
They
something.
offered him half the money.
Yeah,
And
So
he
he
was
said
like,
no.
my half the actor now after my accent. I was like, no, shove it.
Wow.
That's what Disney offered him, half the money. How hard? Because Hawkeye was an excellent series.
it was. Yeah,
But
yeah,
I,
back
I
to-
didn't realize when watching 28 Weeks Later, I thought he survived because that's what I loved about not seeing it for
Got
so long. Because
torched.
when he says I'll see you there, he says it with such conviction that you think he's going to meet them in the arena in the kind of stadium. But
I mean,
he just
maybe
gets
like
set
a kebab,
on it.
maybe or something.
Brutal, man. Brutal.
but but that's what that when she turns and they find that she survived because she's got
Oh.
that gene. That's
Yeah.
why I said to people, people have messaged me saying, should I watch the first ones before going and see 20 years later? I'm like, 100%, because that gene change, that if you don't know about that, that's probably going to play a part in the new film, but it didn't. But,
Yeah, it
but
didn't.
I thought it would.
Also, how reckless is that woman that lets that kid on the plane and hides it behind her? And also, how reckless is the pilot that doesn't even check?
What are you on about?
So when they're in Wembley, he's like, "Let me show me your eyes," and the woman's like, and the girl's
Oh, you
like,
mean the
"Meh."
helicopter? The
The girl's
helicopter.
like, "Meh," and he's like, "Hide behind me," and then he's like, "Yeah, okay."
I don't remember. I'm looking at the eyes.
Yeah, he does. He looks,
Yeah,
but
the
he's,
whole thing is looking at the
they've
eyes,
been
and she's
bitten.
got like red coming in her eyes, and she's like, the woman's like, "I'm good." The girl's
I
like,
did
"Meh."
think when I was watching it, Drew, you'll probably contest this more than James because you're more familiar with the landscape of London, is that when they're running around and they're like, pick you up in the stadium, and it's like Wembley, and they're like by like Soho,
Yeah,
and
they
then
get there quick, don't they?
they start running, and then they end up at Charing Cross. They're actually going south rather than west. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, you're going the wrong way.
Also,
But
why does that
but
guy
they
say go to
but they do
Wembley? There's
but
other places to land a helicopter.
but they do get a well, they're in Regent's Park, aren't they? And the zombies attack, and that's when it's got the cool the rotor blades chopping up
Oh
all the
yeah,
zombies. That's so
That's
cool.
cool.
An amazing shot.
But yeah, he flies off,
What
and
about
then
the
but
guy
they
that
get in the
jumps
car.
on? That guy that just jumps on. He's like, "What are you doing? Get off!" And he's like, "I want to get out of here."
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing, man?
You knew he was fodder because he's just an extra, basically. He's
Yeah.
a glorified extra. When it
The
was
best
them
one's when they first
left.
land, and he's like, "I only wanted you on," and he's like, "Well, they're coming on too." He's like, "Now I'm gonna fly off. I'll meet you like 30 miles over there." It's like, what a mate.
Yeah, just go to the other end of the park, mate. I'll be there in 5.
Yeah,
I
or
thought,
just rotorblade some people and land for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
yeah, they really. I like the way the story builds. They're like, you think she's dead, then they bring her into the camp, and it's like a really now the truth is out because now she survived. No, that was it. They go back to the house. That's the reveal. Sorry,
Yeah,
the two
Imogen
kids go
Poots goes
back.
back and her mum's there, yeah.
Yeah, because he says I can't remember what she looks like. It's like, well, how about the real thing?
Well, he goes to get her a photograph,
Yeah,
doesn't
he goes to get a photograph and
and
gets
she's
the
in the
real
loft.
deal. And he's like, "Mum, what the?"
But that's good. You think, oh, she might be good or used for testing. And then when Robert Carlyle gets done, and that's the terror, that's proper horror when he squeezes her eyeballs.
Oh
But
Jesus, yeah,
but that eyeball squeeze happens a lot in films, and then it's never that realistic. This was gross.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was
sorry.
And then
brutal.
batters her.
Yeah, but almost like a monkey though, like as in like the way that
Yeah.
they attack. Like, but
That's
I
a
thought his acting
great-
when he does the kind of shimmering, like his body's like having
Yeah.
a seizure as he's like
That's
going
it.
against the walls.
Like we know all the infected from the first 2 films. They're all what are they? They're actors and performers. They're not just actors. They're athletes, so they can move
Yeah.
their body slightly differently. But I think Brendan Gleeson and Robert Carlyle were the best actors that did the
Oh
change.
God, they did.
You
br-
just
really
remind me of some
creepy.
other stupid part of the new one as well.
That
But-
was
but-
horrible when it dropped in his eye. He's like,
Yeah. But
Like,
but
that
Robert
was in 28
Carlyle
days.
was proper scary. Like when they all get herded into that one room and they're like, "You'll be safe here," and it's like, this is something that the scary thing is that it doesn't take age. It's not a bite, then you die, and then 20 minutes later you wake
Yeah.
up like zombie films. This is
It's-
like drop. You've got 30
20 seconds. I think she said 20 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's fast and it
And
just
that, to be fair, dude, that is actually a nice thing that they got with the continuity of the first film, because Naomi Harris even says you've got 20 seconds to do something before it's game over, and they kept the exact same continuity in 28 weeks later. Because
yeah.
literally, someone gets bitten, and in 20 seconds they're up going, and that's why it spread so quick as well.
Yeah.
Can we say something that's dumb in 20 years? Is where the priest is like, "Oh,"
They've come for me.
and then they all bite him. Then all of a sudden he's like the king. He like leads them all out. Like they care what he's wearing. Did you notice that bit?
Yeah, because
Did you
his
notice
son
that bit? It was
watches
a bit
that.
stupid.
and-
He was just stood there. He just wearing like a black dress.
Maybe it's because he's well dressed
They all
compared
bite
to
him.
them.
He's like, "I am the leader."
let's-
And he
let's
walks
go to
out, and they
20
all follow him. It's like, what
Let's
a
go to 28
stupid-
years later.
But actually, hang on, that's a homage to 28 days later, because Jim's character goes to the church and he says, "I'm sorry, Father," and they smash through the thing. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, they're all in the church, aren't they?
So
yeah.
it's a homage to the first one.
But it's just
But-
weird that like they sort of recognize him. As,
But
like,
it
some
was
sort of,
the
like,
worst
person.
opening scene. It was not exciting opening scene.
Mate, it definitely put me off
Boring.
Teletubbies. I will never see Teletubbies in the same way.
Yeah, but
I
that's
think it
the
was a
point.
very clever opening. I think it was clever in the sense that they clearly weren't trying to make a horror movie.
No.
They were
What I'm
trying to
saying
make
is
a
that
thriller.
the opening scene was just a decent opening scene. It wasn't iconic. The first 2 are like epic. This was
Yeah.
just
the second
oh,
one definitely.
they're just wait a minute, they're just watching TV and zombies walk in. Nothing exciting. There wasn't a big setup. It was pretty bog standard.
But actually,
Well, the
guys,
whole point of this one,
Wait,
the
wait,
whole point
wait.
of the third
Drew's,
one, I thought was to make the whole point of the timeline. I think the whole thing kept going back to the timeline. Teletubbies, Power Rangers, Happy
yeah,
Eater. They
2002.
really pushed like the whole. We haven't been around for 20 years. I've got a smartphone. What's that? There's an online guy. What's that? They really heavily pushed the fact that it's like this. These people don't know.
Yeah.
Going back to 28 weeks later, real quick on that opening, is it impressive because it looked like it was either done on a drone that it becomes a one take? Once he leaves the house, it follows him as he's running, then it somehow gets in front of him, so he's still running towards as the camera.
And you
It
see the
must be a
zombies
drone.
behind.
It was
Yeah.
done
Pulls
on
away.
handycams.
No, it starts off behind, then it goes around him because I watched
Yeah.
it like literally yesterday, and then it pulls away to reveal more and more of the people behind him, and then it shows more of where he's going, and then you see the boat, then you see the lake
That-
and everything.
That would have been before drones. That would have been like a buggy.
Yeah.
There would have been someone on a go-kart buggy thing with a.
Oh yeah, it's like driving alongside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Danny Boyle's whole thing with this one was to use a lot of iPhones, but mainly just like small things, because it wasn't because of the quality. Because there's a lot of times when you watch a film, like the quality, nothing was in focus, but it kind of like added to it, and you're like, but it was Jodie Comer actually came out and said it was weird filming with it because you almost didn't know the cameras were there. So it was like it wasn't like as big thing in your face. It was like
Yeah, but
someone
they
is
still had
doing
big
that.
rigs. It was still like a big rig.
No,
But
they weren't. They were like
no, it was.
this.
I
No,
saw
some
them.
of
Rather
them
than
were
like
though.
this
There
thing,
was
there.
maybe there
She
was
said
20 of them.
sometimes there was like a tight. Sometimes there was no lens. It was just the
Yeah,
iPhone.
yeah. There's not a big lens, but there's a man holding a thing that's about
Yeah,
this.
not all the
About this
time.
big.
They don't watch the thing. It's crazy. Just sometimes it was just someone holding an iPhone just behind
Yeah.
them, or the
I don't think
actors
it
would
was
hold an
needed. I think it was
iPhone on the
more of a
rig.
it was more of a gimmick. It wasn't really needed. The
It was
quality was
the reason
too
why I did it
high.
is so the actors could hold it. So a lot of time when you see the running, the actors are holding the thing, running, which they wouldn't be able to do with a real
Yeah.
like an
Well,
Arri Alexa or a
so
Black Magic. Like
right, what do you guys think of the actual Invected though? Because I thought the slow lows are really boring, and the alphas again, it felt like a gimmick to me, shoehorned in. I
the
know it's
Alphas
feasible.
felt
It could
like
happen.
what's that called? It felt like The Walking Dead.
Well,
Never seen it.
I thought one of the scariest parts is when they're in the house and you got the silhouette and the sun coming up, and that zombie's just kind of staring at the house. Sarah and I were saying that's one of the scariest parts because it's like, holy shit, they're intelligent. They're just watching, like stalking the house.
I like that.
That
Yeah.
was
I
pretty
didn't like the house
scary.
just randomly fell over though.
Well, no, well that's because it was an old house and those things ran past and
No, nothing ran past it. That was in his dreams. That didn't happen.
No, I'm pretty sure something did run past.
No, nothing ran past. It was in his dream. He was dreaming
The
when the
herd, the
things
herd,
ran
the herd
past.
of the herd of deer did.
The herd of deer
No,
runs
they were in
past.
his dreams.
No, they weren't.
No, they're
James.
real.
They just walked,
Really?
and that was the first thing he showed him.
I thought
He
that
He
was
showed
a
them
dream.
the whole
That
day.
was
No,
the confusion then, the dream and the
no,
reality.
it was not. It was not a dream.
But the
100%.
house
That
wouldn't
was
fall
before
down
he
if
was
it
dreaming.
happened.
That
The
was a
house
So
later
it's an
on.
it's an old house, and a massive stampede of deers made it shake, and it started to fall apart. But yeah, when the alpha chases them, that bit is scary. That reminded me of the good old Game of Thrones days, where running Terminator 2 style through the
Also,
water,
it's got great form for someone that's never been trained.
dum 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 dum, and they're running, and the tide's building, and they're like, open the gates. It was like really cool, man.
Gonna throw
And then
out
it
there,
gets
who's
taken out.
training these alphas and these like zombies to run? Because they've got great form.
Yeah, I think it was who's that really fast runner? The
I'll
famous
say
runner.
it was an extremely stressful few minutes when they
Usain
were
Bolt
coming
does
back.
it. Usain Bolt
And
trains
then,
the alphas.
but then when his dad's like, we're coming home," he's like, "Shut up, you idiot!" Like he's telling him to be quiet the whole time. He's shouting his mouth off. It's like that was
But
stressful. I honestly thought that his dad was going to get killed in that scene.
but
I think that's the point, though, to make it seem like he's
It was
not.
Yeah.
good, but the way he was
But-
shouting
but-
about, it's like,
I think the alphas are interesting, but I do like the fact that there's an evolution of these things, that they are getting more intelligent and stuff like that.
But-
But Yeah.
Someone was saying, why did they cast someone that looked a little bit like Jason Momoa that had a massive dong? Because that starts to steal the show a little bit, like a pendulum between
Well,
their
that's
legs.
the point. They're meant to be the most alpha, so they've got the
Well, I
biggest
guess that
everything.
makes sense because then there's the continuity of why the lady's up the duff, because if the guy's not going to miss with something that big. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but that's the thing as well. That's a contentious thing as well, is that everyone's saying that they've always tried to do zombie babies in films. It doesn't work out, and
How do they know what
yeah,
it is
yeah, it
to
makes
do that?
sense because the placenta prevents blood transfusion from the mother to the child. So that's what the placenta does. It stops blood, and that's why they.
Why are the
Yeah,
infected horny? Like,
yeah, that's the weird thing. I
because
don't
why?
Also,
get
one
that.
thing, like it ended up like a Deliveroo movie or a Uber Eats, where he just had like a basket full of baby and just delivered it off and just went off on his way.
Basketful baby. He's
Do you
like,
not
no, it's
get it? He
going
had
on
like
an
a
epic.
shopping basket, an actual shopping basket with a baby. He dropped it off to his little community and was like, "Laters,
Yeah, but that's because he's going on a mission. Like, he doesn't want to
tip
risk.
if
He
you
can't
want."
risk.
There you go, bomp. Laters.
He's a kid, man. He's 12 years old. He can't look after a kid.
Are we
The
gonna get
town.
on to the Power Ranger section?
Hang on. 2 seconds.
Not yet.
But yeah, I was gonna say the birth scene was insane, and it was interesting how Jodie
It
Comer's
made no
character.
sense.
No, but I
So
thought it was interesting how she stops being violent, and for a split second, she's trying to calm her, and then you see the infected kind of mimics, like shadows, exactly what she's doing. Then she gives birth. Then there's like a little moment of kind of recovery. Then all of a sudden, she goes back to being wild and crazy, and that's when the Swedish guy shoots the
That's
mum.
what made no sense to me. What I wanted to see was like the interaction between infected and normal, being like both of them, like, oh, this person isn't that crazy, but I'd be like, oh, I'm in pain, right, I'm gonna kill you now. It's like just a stupid one again. It's like if that crazy had been like backed off and been like, oh.
but
But I think
yeah, I
she
can.
maybe wanted her baby back as well, because it's not like he's like, that's my
No,
baby. Like, I
it's
don't
just a
know.
rage. It's a rage virus, so it won't have mother instincts or anything.
She would eat the
But
baby.
but I can understand it why it wasn't attacking because it was in so much pain because something, so it had to have
But it's
a
not to do
minute.
like the hand thing. It's like I
But
thought, was this
that
going
was
to
a
be the
bit weird.
moment between the raged and the not, where it's like, oh,
But
maybe we're not
No,
enemies,
that
and it was
noise of
like, now I'm going to eat you again.
that noise of a zombie giving birth was like when you hear like foxes getting, their groove on at the night, or like it was
No,
so
it was
horrible.
like the sound of someone giving birth.
But I wondered what that noise was, and that's why I thought, wow, that's an interesting choice. Again, when we're talking about bold choices, the idea of that horrendous scream echoing through the train is a zombie trying to give birth in a train carriage. That's like, wow.
Yeah, it was a bit of a weird thing. It was like half like that's cool, half like that's hilarious. Because then Swedish
And then
guy got his head ripped
it
out.
was a little bit like the Spectre James Bond film where Daniel Craig is fighting what's his name, and they're just bursting through the carriages, but this time it's like a naked Jason Momoa running through.
Yeah,
That was intense.
it was a weird scene. It's like it didn't really make any sense. But
I just didn't. The scenes I liked the least in this film were any scene with an infected in it.
Wow, that's bold. That's interesting.
James, a warning's come up. Your storage device is running low, which means it will fuck up the recording.
it keeps coming up. Which is weird because I shouldn't be
So
Can you
storing
charge
that
that?
device.
sort that quick, 'cause otherwise it means the
Can you charge
record
that?
will be just me and Drew talking.
Okay, let me try and sort it out.
Um,
It's going to leave temporarily. I think it's
I
my
was gonna say,
phone's overheating.
Go for it.
you know that shot. Oh, well, there you go. You know that shot after the doctor's kind of like killed the mum, as it were, and then cleaned her skull, and the boys climbed
Yeah.
up the tree and put it up
Cleaned
there.
her skull. Sounds
Cleaned
like
her skull.
he's doing her a favor.
Yeah, it's like it's all bleached, it's all nice and clean. There you go. Put your mum where you want. You're like, that's awkward. Because what if he's like, "Can I keep her?" Like, well, no, because I've
It's
got
quite
that big.
sweet. He turns it to the
Towards the sun.
sunset.
Yeah, but what if he wanted to keep it? And he's like, no. I've got a big skull tower there. Please put it on the skull.
Well, I like where he goes. Put it pride of place.
Yeah,
Or
put it
something
at
like
the best place or whatever it is.
best
Yeah.
place. Yeah.
But yeah, where was I going with this? Yeah,
Hello.
after that bit happens,
So I think my phone was overheating. Right, it's all good.
after that bit happens, when you see the burning swirl and the camera just starts to rise, that shot was cinema. That was breathtaking, and the music.
Yeah, that was cool.
Do you remember that bit with the circular motion? You see the pieces of small flames and
Yeah.
little, really
Well,
powerful.
I know James is desperate to talk about it, and we're running out of time as well because we've talked about lots of stuff. But we should talk about the ending and the next thing. Because on then, what do you want to talk about Power Rangers?
I kind of get what they were going for. I do
We're
get
talking
it.
about the very, very ending, right?
Yeah, Jimmy from the first one. We had Jim from 28 days or 28 weeks. We had
days.
Jamie from 28 years. Who was dad. So the fan theory is that Jim from the first one was the guy that influenced everyone. They happened to evolve the Jimmy Savile thing because no one knew Jimmy Savile was bad in 2002.
No, not quite. Not well. I don't know that the fan theory is almost not important because Danny Boyle was actually giving us the answers.
Yeah,
So
so
Danny Boyle in the last days come out and said that the point of the Jimmy thing is that, well, the infection hit 2002.
no one
Jimmy
knew.
Savile was not found out to be the prolific pedophile,
The-
horrible man until 2011. So society ended in 2020,
The thing I found
2002.
ridiculous was
But
the
no,
way it was like
there was a
done.
no, it was a kid in the 80s or 90s. Well, a kid that was grown up, and he would have seen him as a hero or
So
something.
Jimmy, who was Jack, whoever his name
Jack
is,
O'Connell.
Jack
was what,
O'Connell.
6 or 7 when the film started?
Yeah, a child, so he'll be like mid 30s now.
And he was watching Teletubbies, blah blah blah. And all of a sudden, him and his friends are like parkour warrior ninjas.
I know,
Like,
it was mad. That's why I left the cinema laughing. It was really
Who-
weird.
That bit was like Tarantino though.
who
But
trained them?
Tarantino.
But
Yeah, it went from like
but they weren't Power
you
Rangers,
can't even
by
call
the
it
way. They were
feasible because like a zombie film isn't feasible, but it is feasible because it could happen, like a horrendous like outbreak of virus. But
well,
it
pandemic
went
has
like
happened. That's
pure
why it's
comical.
more relatable now.
It went pure comical when they were doing like, and it all had little tracksuits on that they magically found different coloured tracksuits. By the way, don't know where they're going. Some sort of JD Sports in 2002. Where'd they get them tracksuits from? That's the biggest plot twist. Where did they
What
get
about
them
the
tracksuits
chains,
from?
mate? Where do they get all the chains from? Where are they
Well,
getting?
Jack O'Connell got
Stealing
his
from dead
one from his
bodies.
dad.
Yeah,
No, he got the cross. He didn't
Yeah.
get all
Yeah,
the
but
other
you
ones.
can find gold chains in 2002. Where are you getting all these tracksuits from? They're all different colours.
No
Like
idea. I think you're
where are they
focusing
going
on the wrong
shopping?
things. I don't think it's that important.
But and they all did these ninja flips that were quite physically impossible to do.
Yeah.
And it just got. I get where they were going. It was cool, but it was like now we're in a fantasy land where anything can happen. The next movie, someone could fly or breathe fire. It's
No,
like,
no, no.
what are
I
we
think
doing?
it's basically a bit of a commentary on the fact that we believe what we think we believe, and it's not always true. In the sense that people think Jimmy Savile was great back then, so that's going to be their hero.
I'm
And
more about their athletic
the boy,
ability.
the boy saw his dad die, thinking that his dad was going to be the leader of a new world order or whatever. So he's the beginning of the apocalypse. He witnessed the apocalypse begin, basically.
Well, I
I'm more about
was hoping
problem. My
Right,
their
right.
athletic ability is ridiculous.
I
Yeah,
was hoping that it was going to be inside Spike's mind, though. I was hoping
Yeah,
he
same.
perceived it like that, and then it would have made more sense. And then when he looks back again, it's just a normal-looking dude that says, "Hey, can we help out?" But again, people have said they've wondered if it is in Spike's mind. So what we're seeing,
Good point.
and that's the whole point, because throughout the film, Spike has a very wild imagination, hence his dreams. But the fact that he has a Power Rangers figurine on the side of the bed, and they literally do the Power Rangers jump off the cliff and land like Power Rangers.
One
He
thing
might
I
be
did
a
think.
maybe.
One
Yeah.
thing I did think was maybe he's delusional at this point because he's had morphine himself because Matey Boy drugged him.
True.
He's had all his trauma, so maybe in the next one it wasn't these Power Rangers that did this thing. Maybe it was his dad, who we haven't noticed for a while. And the people from the village on the little island have come over to save him.
I don't know. Well, there's no point speculating on that because fuck knows. It's so wild that it could be anything, I guess. But I think because the new film, 28 years later, the Bone Temple is apparently out in January. So
Wow.
we're going to see more. It's out pretty quickly, isn't it? So
Yeah.
we're gonna. It's already been filmed. It's already
But
done.
that's the
It's
one that's
already
got Cillian Murphy in, right? Because they said he's in the other
yes,
2 parts. So he's
yeah. So the next film, he's going to appear at some
Yeah.
point. He's a
They
producer
reckon
on this
he's the
film as
Messiah.
well. But he is going to be in. He's going to be the main story plot of the third one.
if it gets made. Yeah.
But
Yeah. It's
that's
all
maybe
based on.
again. That's the assumption
I
that
think
all
it'll
the
come out that
gyms are
he's the
connected.
Messiah.
Yeah.
Maybe, and
Some,
it's been.
some. Go on, sorry.
No, go on.
I was just going to say some bits that I really did enjoy was when they were getting chased into that house with the kind of stairwell, and he's trying to push his son into the loft and fire arrows. There was some really fun, intense moments, and I thought the bit where the guy's hanging upside down. This is something that someone said in the review. Jimmy is carving into people's chests.
Jimmy's everywhere. It's carved down.
And-
It's carved. It's painted
on
on
the wall. Jimmy, it says Jimmy is coming or something, but they put a bag over their head and
But he's
let
doing
them
it to
turn.
uninfected as a punishment. So he's the
let them-
protagonist.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
let
he's
them
not a good
turn.
guy.
He's let them turn. And then it's the idea that they're trying
Well,
to.
the idea is he's not letting them turn. So he's getting them at the point where they're not turned, but they've turned on him. So he's getting normal people, hanging them up, carving them, and then they're getting turned.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what he
yeah.
said.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you
Leave
said they
them
were
before they
turning
turn.
and then he was getting them.
But
No, I
that's
said
another.
leave
That's
them to
another
turn.
theory.
Anyway.
Is that Jack O'Connell's obviously the nice guy at the end of this film because he's killing infected and
But really,
protecting
he's
the
the
boy.
villain.
But the boy is such a good soul, like a nice kid, and he's clearly going to be a huge part in the next
He's
film.
easily manipulated.
But yeah, he's doing all the right things, and he's being Jack O'Connell's character as Jimmy Savile basically is being
Yeah, he's going to
held as
groom him.
he's going to be like the what's that
Gary.
prick online, the misogynistic
Who?
guy.
Oh,
Sean
Keir
Connery.
Starmer.
Fuck's sake. No, the influencer guy, the kickboxer who's everyone hates.
Oh, Andrew Tate.
Andrew Tate. He's going to be like the Andrew Tate guy who's going to pretend to be helpful and turn him into a bit of a prick. And it's going to be a battle of trying to protect him. But
So win
who
Spike's
knows? Who
soul.
knows? But yeah, Alex Garland's written all of these, which is great. And the director for the new film is not Danny Boyle, the one that's already been done. It's Nina DaCosta, who James knows, who directed the new Candyman film in 2021.
I'm down
And
with that. She's good. She's good.
She's very, very good. And Imogen Poots has come out and saying she wants to be in the film. She'd been in contact and said, I want to be in these
Very,
films.
very good.
So if Imogen Poots comes back
That's
and
clever.
Cillian
'Cause it's
Murphy,
thinking 28 weeks.
I
That's
think
very
it
clever.
needs to. They need to go full circle
Yeah.
because they've done so many full circle films and plots in this film. They need to bring the other ones in fully, I think.
Then it would really be really cool because then it's almost got like a Marvel zombie thing because then it's interconnecting all of the worlds.
Yeah. I think it, but yeah, I think everyone left the cinema a bit confused.
Can I
Yeah.
say a couple of things that I did see at the cinema? A couple of trailers that I thought looked amazing.
Yeah.
We saw the trailer again for Weapons, which was great. We all think that was
Brilliant.
great. The trailer for a thing called Together. Have you seen
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, it's been
Looks insane.
trailer's been out for that for like 3 months.
Wow.
Kev was talking about it. Yeah.
And also the new Conjuring. Oh my goodness,
That looks well scary.
it looks horrific, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What was the other one? I saw the Black Phone 2 trailer as well.
No, I'm sorry. The trailer for new Conjuring was terrifying.
Well, it says that there's a reason it's their last case.
Yeah, there's so many horrors. I think Weapons we got to do, and the Conjuring, brilliant.
And
Together looks so weird.
Yeah, it's
well,
amazing. Well, it's going to be body horror, so it's going to be very similar to The Substance.
and
But
Together's
obviously-
got
A lot of
a
horror
lot of
stuff
trouble
coming up.
because they've basically ripped off another idea
I
that's
heard
already
about
been
this.
done.
They're in a bit
Oh,
of a
really?
they're in a court debate at the moment because
Oh,
they stole
really?
they
Yeah,
stole a
yeah.
film
Wow,
concept
didn't
or
know.
a story.
Well, anyway, should we end there unless anyone's got any final comments?
No, I think that was it, man.
Well, oh, how many whales we given this film
Ooh.
I'll give it 5.
out of?
5 out of 5.
Well, he's doing the 5 out of
Wow,
5
you
score.
said 9 out of 10 earlier, so just
Yeah, but you can't give
any
4
old
out of
maths.
5. Okay,
Yep.
4.8 out of 5. It's
Okay,
such a good movie. It's so much fun.
cool. Drew?
Yeah, I don't know. In hindsight, because I've been thinking about it constantly, because I wouldn't mind watching it again, but I do feel like maybe 4.5, maybe 4.25. I don't know.
It is thought-provoking.
Yeah, I think it's just
Which-
because it's so different, and there's so many things that work, and it kept my attention. I wasn't bored in any
No.
points. I was entertained,
it.
and it moved me. I had so many different emotional reactions to things.
Yeah, I might need to revisit it again, but
Like that bit getting chased by the alpha through the water was just that was
What do you give it, Kev?
breathtaking.
Just above average, maybe a 3.
3. Wow.
Yeah, I don't think it was that great.
I think I over exaggerated.
because
I
I
think
watched
I'm basing mine on that moment between him leaving the house, taking his mum to the thing. That was like
yeah, that was a great
5
scene.
out of 5. And I think the rest of it was maybe 2.
But I've watched the other 2 in the last week. Well,
Yeah.
2 weeks, and they are so superior by significant margins that no matter how good this film is, it just can't
I'll go
compete with
4.
those 2.
4 out of 5.
I think it's
Personally, you don't have to change your opinion. I'm just saying that's my opinion. Like,
because, like you said, because we've seen all 3 of them, which I think helps. Though it gives you a really good perspective.
yeah,
The third one feels more like a science experiment with a camera,
The
whereas
third
the other
one's not a
2,
horror film. Like,
first
anyone
2 are
thinks
more.
it's a horror film's crazy.
The first 2 are more cohesive.
yeah,
Like the second one has more of a through line, and it's clever because you've got the protagonist is good, then they become the baddie, which is really interesting in one movie with 28 weeks later. Whereas this one felt all over the place, and sometimes it was trying to do too much, like trying to be profound, trying to talk about mortality, trying to.
and it's setting up a trilogy, so there's labored points and stuff that didn't need to be there, but they have to put it in to set up for the next movie. I'm
Well,
guessing.
this is it,
so.
because I think if the third one was trying to end it rather than try to set up a franchise, I think maybe we'd feel different about it. But I feel like because there's so many unanswered questions and so many kind of convoluted things that people are like, what is going on?
Yeah,
That they're trying to create intrigue for the next 2 films that are coming for that world rather than try to end something like you would with a normal trilogy. And I think that's the misconception, because when I went into this, before I started seeing everything on the internet, I thought, oh, this is going to be the final chapter. This is the end of the trilogy. But no, it's the start of a new trilogy.
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah,
No, mad. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Really thought provoking.
a
Loads
lot
of
of fun.
points. I've seen better movies that don't have many talking points. This was good because it has talking points and so
Well,
many.
this is dividing
interesting
audiences.
choices.
This is the
Yeah.
kind of film that everyone kind of talks about, where it's like people are going to give it 1 star or 5, and you're like, I have to see this film,
Unless they're Kevin and they give him 3.
and they give it 3. Yeah,
But like you say, it is divisive and it's like an A24 film. It's big swings which don't always land, and I
and big
like
swinging
that.
dicks.
Yeah, big swinging dicks. Right, we'll end on big swinging dicks. Tune in next week when we have a special guest who is a director and a writer and a producer talking about films and everything he's involved in, including reality TV. All right. We'll see you soon. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
This has been Rage Whale. Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope you had a whale of a time.
Oh, wait! Just before you head off to listen to another one of our episodes, I'm not going to ask you to give us a follow and a 5-star review or follow our social media such as Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, although that is your choice. But we would like to tell you about a new website we have called ragewhale.tmill.com, where you can get some merchandise to support us: hoodies, t-shirts and mugs. There is a link here and on our social media profiles. Thank you so much for listening again. See you next time.